Hi everyone, and welcome to Our Casa Sweet Casa. I'm doing a little series on what worked for our bilingual homeschool in the year 2017-2018, and this is about what worked for my 7-year-old.
Come on in. Come on in. Come on in to our Casa Sweet Casa.
Alright, so like I mentioned, we are bilingual homeschool. This was our first full year of homeschooling, and I wanted to share with you what I used for my 7-year-old. Let's see, for English, I talked about this in a homeschool hall, but we've used Learning Language Arts through Literature. And I chose it because it's an all-in-one curriculum. And since we do full language arts in Spanish and in English, I thought it would be a good idea to have something that's all-in-one, make sure we're getting a lot of things in, and then I could get supplemental things as I saw that was needed. And so we chose this program that has grammar, reading, spelling, phonics, vocabulary, handwriting. So it has a student book. Well, this is a student book. The student book and the teacher handbook. And a little bit differently than my 11-year-old, in this case, the teacher handbook is pretty essential, I would say, at least in this grade level, because there's a lot more discussion, and I like to have it scripted for this grade level. This is I forgot to mention, this is the second grade book, and let me check, is it? Yes, second grade, I was right. It says it right here, second grade skills. And so it's great part of homeschooling. When you look up curriculum, make sure that you always check out the placing tests for the different programs, because for my 11-year-old, looking at the test for the placement, I decided to go under for her, and it worked out great. But looking at the different skills that would be in this book, I thought that she would be right on track with this one, and it did work out. And I would definitely recommend this program for this level. You'll see in my other video, I'll link it. For the first time I'm linking a video for my 11-year-old's experience with this program. I did have to supplement a lot more. I had a little bit more qualms on that grade level about how complete it was, really. But for this grade level, I thought it was amazing, perfect. I still added a little bit of things because I just wanted to have a little bit more practice. But this was very complete, I think, for this grade level. So it includes, like I said, well, let me show you the student book. Like I said, the parent-teacher handbook is scripted, and I love that. Love the discussion questions. And so you can see how the lessons are short. They're divided by day, and it has grammar, it has spelling, it has phonics, and I love the little activities that it had to cut out and paste. It added some variety to what we were doing, and then it had also some coloring. By the end, she didn't really want to do those coloring pages, but I think it was really good. And what I especially loved were the readers. Were these readers that it comes with. You'll see that in the higher grade levels, it doesn't come with these readers. But she loved these. They're pretty simple, the illustrations, but I love that they're specially made for this program. And so what the words that they're reading are also the words that are in the grammar, and she liked the stories. She liked going through all of these and discussing them together. I think that this grade level was really good in this program. It also comes with some other books that it references. These are just two examples. These were her favorite. Balto, The Bravest Dog Ever. And Corduroy, this was her favorite, by Don Freeman. Show you quickly. so beautifully illustrated, and she loved the story. So the program also references books like these in this level. And I would say that maybe for English speaking as a first language, they might find these a little easy. I don't know. You look up the placement test and decide on your own. But for my bilingual child, this was right on level. When I mean bilingual, I mean that she's fully speaks, writes, comprehends, reads, spells in both languages. And so I like that this program was all in one for everything that we had to do. So it worked out very well. Reading, learning language arts through literature for her. The second grade skills book, the Red Book. Also, I added language review. I always like to keep these in because just want to do more grammar. And I showed it in my 11-year-old's video also, but these are divided by day. They're very short, and what they have to do is find the errors in the sentences that are there. And also it has the other exercises, like read the sentences, use and to write one sentence, and things like that. And this is something that she does independent, and then I check. I always need to check, but to make sure that they're doing it right and not skimming through. But we do this language review for grammar. And also, I also talk about this because in my 11-year-old, we also use this program for spelling. Differently than my 11-year-old, my 7-year-old has turned out to be such a great speller. I'm surprised. She's so good at spelling. And sometimes she helps my 11-year-old with some words, so it's funny. She's so good at spelling in both languages. And so this was a little bit under for her in grade level. That does not mean I'm knocking this program. I would definitely invest it in again. I will. I will be buying the next level, but it was her first time using it, so I wanted to go a little bit under and make sure that she got the basics in, and so it's a visual spelling program. And what I mean is that we don't use lists of words. When it comes to bilingual homeschooling, you need to simplify some things. And remember that children will be learning grammar rules, spelling rules, all kinds of rules of language in 2 languages. And it's a lot. It's a lot to remember. Not to mention all the exceptions after they learn the rules. So I know it's debatable, but for me, that's how I learned spelling, visually. Remembering how a word looks. And I think that works in both languages. So that's why I like the philosophy in this book. The thing is that they don't go through lists of words, and they look at a fragment. In this case, she did level B, Jack and Jill. This is the student workbook, and then it brings 2 student workbooks. This is the second, this is part 1. And this is instructor's handbook. And the instructor handbook explains the philosophy. It has the different kind of like the words you're going to be giving them, and it's a kind of transition book because it starts with just the words and then it goes into little rhymes that are longer. Yes, that's what you dictate to them instead of just words. And she breezed through this. She did. She liked the rhymes. Some she didn't recognize. Some she learned about. And then each day, this is the last day of the week, for 1 week, she has the same fragment or rhyme. And it gives her specific things to look up in the fragment, specific things to copy, and then words that kind of sound the same. And this is really important for bilingual kids because phonetically, letters are so different. So the tough part for her was identifying this one she loved because she already knew that it had a U in it. But more going along, when she had to decide what letter, like huff, buff, cuff. Sometimes it was hard for her to remember phonetically what letter it was. So this was really good repetition for her. And she loved it. And by the end, it seemed a bit easy for her because this philosophy behind it worked so well for her. And she's excited to move on. She's excited about the different colors that you would use to mark the different things. This is kind of a transitional one because by the end, she got into larger fragments of for dictation and for everything that she had to mark out. And so we love this in our bilingual homeschool. I definitely invest in this again in the next levels because it worked very well to get them into spelling. For 2 languages, they have to learn how to spell. So it's really important to find a philosophy that works for kids that are bilingual. And it worked very well. Spelling, you see, she used Jack and Jill. So we're excited to move on to the next level of that. For handwriting, this is something that they did independently. We used a reason for handwriting, and she was in transition also. So first, they do very short lessons for each day, using words from a verse of scripture from the Bible for Christians. So I like this. And so eventually, she's not done with this yet. She's going to be moving on. Now she's going into cursive. And she's excited about it. And then she'll start doing fragments for cursive. As I mentioned in my other videos, sometimes I wish I had something a little bit more content heavy for handwriting, but couldn't find something that kind of convinced me fully to change it out. So we're continuing with handwriting. She's in the T transition work text. And she does this independently and I check it. And it's worked out fine. Also, she started this year with beginning geography. It's a K-2 from Evan-Moor. And she likes it a lot. She's able to do it pretty much independently. Sometimes she asks for help. It's in English and it's not her first language, but it's simple enough that she can work on it a little bit independently and sometimes ask for help. So she's like this to get a little bit of geography in. And so for math, this is her second year using Math You See. And it's worked out so very well for her. I mean, and for me, math is not my favorite, but I love that it has the teacher instruction manual that I reference a lot. As you may have heard, this program comes with a DVD. I was surprised when we did the alpha. She just does not like the DVD. Nothing against the teacher, Mr. Dummy, but she doesn't like it. She doesn't like watching that DVD. So if she doesn't enjoy it, we don't do it as often. Sometimes if I'm a bit stuck with, it's not exactly scripted, it does tell you what you have to explain to them and what you're going to be working on. But it's not exactly scripted. I like scripted. So when I'm kind of confused on how to explain it, because I can do it myself, but I can't seem to explain it. Math is not my thing. So to make sure that, I want to make sure that if I'm getting a program, that it's being explained the way that the philosophy follows. And so if it's not exactly scripted, I'm kind of sometimes at a loss for words. I just want to make sure that it's being explained the way that the program wants it explained. So sometimes I do, let's just watch the DVD to make sure that it's explained. And she's like, okay, let's watch the DVD. But it doesn't happen that often. And sometimes it's not that necessary. She likes that, at least in this instruction manual, I like that it has some mental math exercises that she enjoys a lot. So we also use the instruction handbook for that. And then it has the student workbook. I'll show you inside because this is something that you need to see what you prefer and what your child prefers. They're not colorful. They are just basic exercises, black and white pages. And this has been fine for us. I liked how it's spaced out. I liked workbooks that are spaced out per day. And this one is like that. Sometimes the way we space it out, she does about 4 lessons per day actually. So she breezed through the alpha one because I started a little bit below for her, and now she's in the beta level, and it's worked well to do about 4 pages a day is what we used, and then by Friday, she's ready to do the lesson test, and this is the lesson test book. So it has about 2 pages. It's a short test to make sure. And so it's worked well for us. I don't have it in hand to show you, but it uses blocks like these, and she's very visual, so she's loved having those blocks at hand. To be honest, by this level we don't use them as much. Sometimes I take them out to make sure when I'm explaining it with the first lesson, before she does the practice, I take them out and use them, but it's kind of already in her mind, the blocks, after we did alpha, the first level that she did. She didn't do primer, she started with alpha. And so it's worked great. She's not done with it yet. So when we start again in the fall, we started homeschooling in January of last year. So some of the work hasn't gone like fall to summer with us. So she's still to finish this one up. And to be honest, it's worked great. She's great at math. It's helped her be so good at putting her fingers away and not having to use her fingers, just using her mind to visualize the math things and helping her learn the math facts. That's something that has been so great about homeschooling, and I don't think, at least in the schools they've been in before we started homeschooling, I've been homeschooling just a year, that really getting in those math facts is something that hasn't worked out before, and for her it's been great. After she's done with this, we're going to consider doing the teaching textbooks, not because I have anything against this program and its philosophy, but because her sister uses teaching textbooks, and I think that she might be ready for math to be a little bit more independent, and she wants to use the computer. And so if she wants to try teaching textbooks starting out in 3rd grade, I would definitely consider it, but not because I have anything against this, just because she might be wanting to do something a little bit more independently. And teaching textbooks is a CD-ROM program that gives them the lessons right in the computer. And since she's already gotten used to having math in English, I think that would be a good step for her. But we'll see. So far, we'll continue on finishing this up for math, Math UC, beta. So finally, I wanted to share what we used for Spanish for my 7-year-old. The program that we used, or at least these workbooks that we used, not exactly a program, they are not for homeschooling. They are for children whose Spanish is their first language, and they're Puerto Rican actually. Spanish varies a lot from country to country, so I thought it was good to have a publishing house and workbooks that were for Puerto Rican children, because the words would be the same, the usage. And so these workbooks are workbooks that they use, at least what I've seen, mainly in the private schools in Puerto Rico. They've used these type of workbooks before. This was their first year homeschooling, so they were used to these. But frankly, I couldn't find anything else. I couldn't find a language curriculum for native Spanish speakers for homeschooling. It was sad. I had to come up with my own. But this is what I use as a guide then. I'm going to make a video on how I adapted for our homeschooling. But it's Ediciones SM. The publishing house is Ediciones SM. And it's the Aprender Juntos, Learning Together workbooks for Spanish, and it's approved by the Spanish Language Academy of Puerto Rico. It is for Puerto Rican children, and so this is the kind of main book, but they also write in it. It's divided by units, and it does have reading and stories. They are beautiful books. These the story, and then it has vocabulary and we do these together. And then after the story, it has exercises and practice. And for reading comprehension, it does have some handwriting and el diminutivo, grammar exercises. And so, like I said, it's not made for homeschooling, it's made for classroom teachers, but I space it out and I add things in, and I'll explain some other video. But basically we do this because it's what I found for first language Spanish work. And so it has the kind of textbook, and then it has another workbook for practice. And so it's not for learning Spanish, it's for Spanish speakers, like I mentioned, and it goes into grammar, reading, and then has a little bit of handwriting for the second grade level. And then it also has a vocabulary book. A vocabulary book is actually my favorite because they're able to do it more independently, and it's more easy to divide by day. But obviously they go through it very, very quickly because it's not made for homeschooling, or it's not made for that type of thing. So I had to add my own. But like I said, I'll be talking about in another video how I turned these and how they worked for us in how I turned them into our homeschooling books for Spanish. But that's a great thing that you can adapt, and I'll still keep a lookout for any other Spanish program. But I haven't found any. So for now, we're working with these as first language Spanish books for our homeschooling, our bilingual homeschooling. And for my 7-year-old, they've worked out okay. Mostly it's pretty easy for her. And sometimes I do find a concept that I have to like space out, and we did like a verb a week where we talked about el verbo, identifying the verb in a sentence, and that's something that works in English also, but I had to stop everything and adapt it because it's not spaced out for a homeschooling student or a homeschooling schedule. So that's what we've used this past year for my 7-year-old. I hope you found some ideas, or at least liked looking into what we did in our bilingual homeschool. So we'll see you next time.